Great, thank you. So I just wanted to start off by welcoming everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I know if you're on the East Coast, it's late into the evening already. If you're on the West Coast, we're just starting off ours, but we appreciate you spending the time, and we commend you for spending the time kind of focusing on your online marketing strategy and your business and reinvesting into your own business. So again, welcome. Today, we are so excited to have Vishal Desai joining us. He is with the UC Berkeley MBA program, and he's going to lend his expertise with us for an hour here talking about online marketing. And this is the first of three sessions that we have in what we are calling our Berkeley Business Bootcamp. So I'll share out the details for the next two, which are coming tomorrow and Wednesday, if you want to join us for those topics as well. We'll be having one presentation on building your e-commerce platform and the second presentation on doing cost and profitability analysis. So I will share with you those links if you want to join us for those in the coming days. Before we jump into the content of the presentation, I just wanted to do a brief introduction to Pacific Community Ventures. If you're not familiar with us, we're a nonprofit that is dedicated to the success and support of small businesses. So our mission is to invest in small businesses, create good jobs for working people, and make markets work for social good. We're able to do that through a combination of our fair and affordable lending program, our free business advising program, and our research and consulting program. So again, if you're new to Pacific Community Ventures and want to take advantage of that free business advising program, I'll share out some details on how you can get started with that later on today as well. All right, so now I'll just pass it off to Vishal if you want to do a brief introduction and then kick us off.
Sounds good. Thank you, Morgan. Welcome, everyone. Good afternoon and evening to wherever you are. Hope everyone's keeping safe right now. Just a brief background of me. I'm originally from Mumbai, India. I moved here to the US in 2012 for grad school, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And then I've been in the Bay Area for the past 6 years. I mostly worked in tech. I started off as an engineer, transitioned to program management. Currently, I'm a program manager at Google, and I'm also an evening and weekend MBA student at Haas. So yeah, I mean, I don't have a professional background in marketing, but I've kind of like collected my thoughts. I've spent the past 1 year taking classes and working on projects with organizations like PCV. So hopefully like what I present will be useful to everyone. I mean, I just added this pandemic hobbies in here. I've started cooking for the first time in my life. I was ordering a lot on DoorDash before, supporting like small businesses, but I realized that's not very sustainable. So I started cooking as well now. And yeah, I live in San Francisco. I've been signing up for a lot of like these consulting projects through school. So that's been a great learning experience for me. And yeah, thanks again to PCV for giving me the opportunity to talk about marketing. So goals of this presentation, right? So I was like thinking about like how to structure this presentation, and what I wanted to do is like, because marketing is such a broad topic, I really wanted everyone to get like an insight on how to think about marketing, creating a marketing plan. And then like, I'm going to throw some frameworks at you in this presentation. So hopefully like you can like take these frameworks and apply to your businesses, and just a very high level introduction to tools and technologies. So I think there's like tons of tools and technologies out there. So I'm going to like lay it out for you, and then hopefully if you think that something is more applicable to you, you can like do a deep dive. Right. So, I mean, this is why the goal, I set this goal because, you know, like if you think about marketing, it's very overwhelming. There's so many like terminologies and buzzwords out there. It gets like overwhelming very fast. And even like when we started off as a project, it can get like very confusing. So like I wanted to start from the start, assuming like a lot of people do not have a marketing strategy. And I wanted to like urge people to think about marketing not as like a function, as in like something I need to do for my business, but how it fits into your overall business strategy. So I'm going to like use this as an example and make reference to this. So as part of our marketing project, we had to come up with like a product and create a marketing plan and strategy for that. So I mean, it's not a real restaurant, but we came up with this concept restaurant called Dice, where like chefs compete with each other, like Master Chef or like Hell's Kitchen. I don't watch these shows, but like one of these shows, so where you're coming in and like paying for the experience. So there's just like a background, and then we like thought more about like what the experience should look like, pricing, marketing, etc. So like I said, I want you to think about marketing as to how it fits into your overall business strategy. So I'm going to break this presentation into two halves, where like the first half is more like strategic, right? And like when I say strategic, like what does that mean, right? So basically what it means is identifying like the market that you operate in, and like looking internally, like what is your value proposition, and like what are the best market opportunities out there, right? So how do you do this? Again, in business school, there's lots of framework. So I'm gonna like simplify it for you. So like segmentation, target market identification, and positioning. So this is like an exercise you do. Like so you do like your market research, understand the competition. So segmentation is nothing but identifying your customer base and kind of like segmenting it based on, it could be demographics or geography or whatnot, psychographic even, kind of like profiling your customers, and then identifying like who do you want to serve. Again, this could be like, if you say for example you are like a restaurant in San Francisco, maybe you want to like focus on San Francisco, not like some people visiting from outside and eating at your restaurant like occasionally, right? So that's target market identification. Once you like divide it into segment, you kind of want to identify like what's more profitable, like maybe cheaper to serve a particular segment. And this probably will be covered in detail in the third presentation on profitability. So it's just like a plug for Drew's presentation as well. And then finally, positioning. So this is kind of like, how do you want your brand to be perceived as, right? So like basically it could be, I'll as I got to the positioning slide, I'll go into more detail of what this means. But like, is it like a high-end brand, low-end brand? Like what attributes do you want to focus on? And kind of like, what is your core competency, right? So, okay. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of like a cliche statement, know your customer, but I would urge like everyone to kind of do that due diligence and really know who your customers are. So how can you do that? I think one simple tool is like surveys. There's like tons of tools out there, Qualtrics, Surveymonkey, Google Forms. A lot of these are free, so you don't even need to pay for it. Or like just like user interviews, right? Like I don't know, like it could be just talking to your customers, or spending like a 30 like kind of designing like what do you want to get out of that conversation, and like provide an incentive to your customers, provide a discount or like I don't know, freebies to someone, so that they're invested in like giving you feedback, right? So this is how you kind of like get to know your customers. Market analysis, you could just, I mean, like Google or like search for like some of these information. Like you need to know like industry trends, or compare like who your competitors are, or like what are, like for example, like what are other people in your industry doing during the pandemic, or like shelter in place. So it's always good to stay on top of this. Gathering this information will like drive a lot of the marketing strategy that we'll talk about in the second phase. And like I said, like why do you need to do this? So that you understand the market better, you understand your customers better, and you can like make decisions based on that. You can like pick a segment you want to market your product to. You learn about like how your brand is perceived by your customers. You can like even identify, like based on that, you can like price your products or price your services. So there's like a lot of good information. So I'd say like this is where you want to start from, like just really understanding your customer. So once you know your customer, like just focus on self-reflection. Again, like if you're starting off, you haven't thought about marketing, doing this will like really give you structure, would really help you think about like your messaging. So this is just like a little template where it's called a positioning statement. So for like your target audience, like how your product or brand is providing like benefits, and like why, like because what is the reasons to believe that statement. So for example, like the restaurant, like the fake hypothetical restaurant project that we did, like our positioning statement was for food enthusiasts and cuisine connoisseurs. Dice is the most unique and involved dining experience because, unlike any other restaurant, our guests have the opportunity to interact and witness chefs from all over the world battle to create the most innovative dishes and compete to win their hearts. So, I mean, you could like, I don't know, like if people want to like try this out and in chat, like maybe take a minute to think about your like own product or company and want to give it a try. I can like, I don't know, I can paste it in chat if that's easier for you to kind of like go through this. Let me see. How do I, like, can I paste this in chat? No, not really.
Yes, you should be able to.
Let's go to Q&A.
If you post it in the Q&A, I'll copy it into the chat for you.
Okay.
If that's the one that you're able to see.
Oh, I see. Yeah, there is. So it's panelists and attendees. Yeah. All right.
Perfect. Right, Vishal just posted that in the chat, and if you all want to think about that for your business and share it back with us, feel free to do so. Or if you wanted to kind of take a think through this, we'll be sharing out the presentation slides, so you'll have this afterwards as well.
I don't know if we have any. I'll give it a minute, and if like we have any volunteers, brave volunteers too.
I had posted a question asking our viewers who or what have they done, what steps have they taken to get to know their customers. And Dina responded she's used Surveymonkey.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so that was one of the suggestions, the surveys. And I think Surveymonkey, I don't know if it was on your list, but we can add that to your list as a suggestion before we send out the presentation.
No, I think that was on my list. I see, I think Dina saying not all your clients complete the survey, which is tracking it. So like I said, I mean, a lot of people like they have like no incentive to complete the survey. So I would say maybe like reach out to them, or I don't know, like give them a discount. Like you get like 5% off if you complete a survey, or like, I don't know, if you have a coffee shop, you get your next coffee is on us, or your next, like you get a free cookie or whatever. So think of like how you can actually incentivize your customers, your clients to complete the survey, so that they have like they have more motivation. So, or it could just be like, oh, like take this survey and then you are in this like a raffle or lucky draw to win something, $50 Amazon card or whatever, right? So I think like that's what I would suggest. You could like keep it generic, where they might not be directly your clients, but so your family or friends fit the profile of your customer. Then you can kind of like ask them to fill that out, and then just kind of use that as a reference. Okay. Is there any other questions? Yeah, feel free to like stop me, like Morgan, if there's like questions on the slide itself or like something that I've said.
Yep, absolutely. I'll monitor the Q&A box and the chat box, and I'll chime in if there are any questions. But for now, I think we're good.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I don't know if anyone wanted to share like this exercise, but if not, then I guess I can continue moving on.
We haven't had any come in yet, so I think we can move on.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'd urge you guys to kind of just like use this. It could be something else. It's just like a template to kind of think about your product, brand, like what is the best fit. Basically, like what is your unique value proposition? Right? What are you bringing to the table that the next guy is not? Okay. So yeah, just take this time, think about yourself, and think about your business and how it's serving your users and customers.
We did have one come in. Becky filled out hers. She said, for struggling students, Kaleidoscopics, a visual approach to learning private Zoom tutoring, is the place to remove struggles and create confidence and success, because we work with the whole child, not just the academics. Students go from struggles to success. Thank you so much for sharing, Becky.
Yes, thanks a lot, Becky. Yeah, this is awesome. So I like urge like people to kind of, I see like someone else. I think Jane has a comment as well.
Yeah, we have a couple questions that came in. We've got, let's see. Dina, for her proposal clients, my proposal writing service is useful because it helps the client to produce a better quality proposal.
Yeah, awesome.
Thank you, Dina, for sharing yours. And then we have a couple questions maybe we can talk about here for a second. Might we use this statement as the differentiator and then another statement with further detail to use as the value prop?
Yes, definitely. I mean, this is not like a hard science. It is kind of like just for you to like urge you into, but you want to like keep it concise. So that's why. So you otherwise, yeah, you don't what you don't want to do is not just like list out like all features of your business or product, right? So this kind of helps you distill down like the most important things. So that's where like you like even internally for you or your business or your company or your employees to kind of like rally around. I think it's important to have like something like that, something more simpler. But yeah, I mean, you could like make it like into like a second statement, bigger statement where you can like think this through. So.
And then one last question on the previous topic about getting to know your customers. Allison shared that they have 6 weekly farmers markets where we ask questions to our customers, where we sell raw local honey. How do you target a certain group?
Yeah, so I mean, like if you're directly selling, that's awesome, right? Like you kind of maybe start logging, like who's buying your honey, right? Is it like mostly people with families? Where are they coming from? What is the like? I don't know what age is it? Mostly like men, women, like who's buying this honey, right? So you kind of like look, then that's how you kind of segment. So maybe you could like start logging. There must be like some way where you kind of maintain that, oh, I've sold like, I don't know, X amount of honey bottles today. And then maybe like it would be interesting to have this added piece of information where you kind of like know who's actually buying your product, and then you kind of like segment your product. So maybe it's just like families aged like 25 to 35, like maybe young couples are coming in and buying, right? So you kind of like, maybe like when you go ahead, get into more detail, if you want to run a Facebook ad, you'd want to run it to like, I don't know, people in the age group of 25 to 35 in your neighborhood or something like that, or in your like city. I hope that answered your question. Okay, I think I'm gonna push forward. This again is kind of like, it's more like nice to have like just to think in terms of where you fit in. It's called a perceptual map. So for like DICE, we kind of created like a price versus experience. So you could pick the X and Y axis, but like say if you're in the restaurant industry, at least for like what our project, we wanted, so like McDonald's would be something, it's mostly takeout, cheaper. It's not, no one's going there for the experience. Like they like the food, it's cheap, it's good, it's quick, right? As opposed to like French Laundry, which is like a Michelin star restaurant in the Bay Area, where you're going, it's very expensive and you're going there for the experience. And like we wanted to sit like somewhere between like a nice-ish restaurant. Like we wanted to have a better experience, or like experience comparable to a Michelin star, but from a price point, we wanted to kind of sit between like nicest restaurant and a really fancy Michelin star restaurant. So again, this kind of like ties into like identifying, or like it's basically like a positioning statement. So how do your customers perceive you? How do you want to be perceived as, right? And then like as part of like surveys, customer interaction, you kind of like have more information, and you could like use this information then, right? So you say your customers perceive you as like a high-end brand, maybe you could experiment with pricing. Like you could like if you are like really focused on quality, right? Or like it's like Whole Foods versus Walmart. Walmart is like cheaper, Whole Foods, everything's organic, more expensive. So like if you're a grocery store, like where do you want to sit in that spectrum? So then you can like again kind of focus on the demographics or like your customers, who should you target this to, and like how do you want to price your product. So yeah, this is kind of like these are some of the tools for like strategic thinking, even before you start like marketing and like going in and I don't know, like doing search advertising or some other digital advertising avenues we'll talk about. Like I would urge everyone to like do this exercise and like create like a overall like business strategy, not just like a marketing plan where I want to do marketing and like reach customers. Because this will give you insight into improving maybe your product or their customer service. So a lot of signals to gather from like this data. Okay, so the second part of the presentation is more like tactical, right? Where like it's what features, like promotion, which is classic, like what like when you think of marketing, that's what like you kind of think of like advertising and marketing and whatnot. So the insights you derive from the first half is gonna like kind of drive like some of these like tactical decision making. So the first half you can think about it as like identifying and like generating value, right? Now you have like your customers kind of like you identify who do you want to sell to. You are like this unique, awesome business you have, right? So you created like this value, right? Now, how do you deliver and capture that value? So this second half is kind of focused on that. So again, like business school, it teach you like a lot of frameworks. This one is quite simple. It's 4 P's: product, price, place, promotion. So product, like what are you offering? You have features, right? So if you're a restaurant, as in like for our case, some of the unique differentiators where we thought were like, okay, like the people coming into the restaurant, the menu is going to be a surprise. So for you, it could be just like adding like a new product to your product line, or like even if something's not profitable, you might want to stop selling that. Like your pricing strategies. Again, like we thought about, okay, should this be a subscription to have like repeat customers, or like there's like price discrimination where you give discount to like a certain group, for example, like kids get like 10% off on your ice cream if you're under the age of 15 or something like that. So just to kind of like attract more customers. And this is like, I think a lot of this is experimental and it's an iterative process. So you kind of like keep switching and keep like trying to figure it out. And like place is basically distribution, right? So are you like, what kind of a business are you? Are you a physical business? Do you want to like sell your products physically? You want to sell it online, on eBay, Amazon, Etsy? Maybe you want to consider like building up your own web store, right? Where again, like plug for the other presentation tomorrow. Leafan's gonna go over like how can you like, you don't need to like, now the platforms are so sophisticated where you don't need to actually know how to write code. You just do it through a tool and have your website. So if you are interested, like you don't have a web store or a web presence, maybe you'd want to attend a seminar and like try it out, like to see whether it's worth investment. And then finally, promotion. So we'll kind of like dive deeper over the next couple of like 3-4 slides towards the end of presentation. Is like I said, when you think of marketing, like it's basically you think of promotion. I'm gonna like have this ads out on like social media or like television ads and stuff like that. So this is just now focus on like the messaging and like where you want to place your ads. Like it's given right now, it's like just focus on digital advertising. I don't know if anyone does like print ads anymore, probably not. But yeah, so let's go a little deeper into promotion now. So if again, I just if you like search for like a marketing decision making funnel, you find like different ones. I like this one because like with your promotion strategy, you're mostly focusing on the top half, but keeping in line the theme of this presentation, where I want you to think about your business as a whole and how marketing fits in. How do you like leverage that, right? So marketing or like this promotion strategy is going to help you with like awareness, interest, consideration, evaluation, where you can like get the customer maybe to your store, but then you also need to make sure that you have like a great product or service offering, good customer service, right? Where you start getting repeat business. Because I think there's no like the best promotion strategy is like word of mouth, right? You want your customers to go and like tell their friends and then their friends, right? So even like if I think of the restaurant industry, where if my friend came in and he said like, oh, this restaurant's got the best food ever, like, I'm not even gonna go like look it up on like Yelp. I'm like, I want to try that restaurant, right? So something like that. So just to kind of keep in mind, right? But then again, like bring it back to like just the promotion strategy, right? Is right now like as part of like digital marketing. If I think of this, you can like kind of categorize it. So you have like search, social media platforms. There's like email marketing CRM tools, and then you could like I'm going to talk later about how you leverage your own website, to use that as to like basically drive your customers down the funnel to actually making that purchase. Maybe I'll just like pause real quick right now to see if there's any questions in chat.
No, I don't see any questions in our chat or on our Q&A box. But just awesome. Serves as a good reminder, as we do have questions that pop in throughout the presentation, feel free to throw them in the Q&A box or the chat box, and we'll get to them.
Yeah, so I am just like looking at chat, and like I think Becky asked that question, and like I kind of like Morgan answered that. But I mean, this depends on your business, right? Like basically, like what industry do you operate in, and it could be price versus quality. That's like a very common thing. So maybe if you're high quality, you want to like sell. I mean, you can't have it all, right? Like you can't be, I have the best, cheapest product out there, right? Because I don't know. I mean, it's just like even companies use price signaling, right? Where you price something higher and that kind of your customers perceive that as like higher quality. I think Peloton is like a great example where they kind of had like, they didn't go for, okay, like a cheaper bike. They started off with like a really expensive bike. So you can kind of like pick based on your industry, but I'd say like price versus quality is like a good place to start. Or like if you think about the automobile industry, right, where you have like Tesla and like an SUV, where it's like, okay, what is like more family friendly versus sports car? So you just kind of pick and choose based on like some your market research or your understanding of like how you operate or what market you operate in. Okay, I think there are no other questions.
There was one that popped in the Q&A. Allison asked, how do you target one group besides just on Facebook?
I mean, so you could take that into consideration, right? So like not even on Facebook. So I think I'll probably talk about it later, and like maybe you could like what platform to even pick to start advertising, right? Or like what product attributes are more important to that group. So you could like redesign your product or like you redesign your service to kind of cater to, I don't know, like you identify this segment is the most profitable. So you then like based on like what they care about, you have a messaging around that, right? So for example, you're selling a product like a car, right? So Tesla's marketing strategy is going to be different than, I don't know, like a van, where they're going to focus on safety and like why is it so awesome for your family, and all these other attributes. Whether like Tesla's, oh, like we have like this great looking car, it's electric, right? It's good for the environment, etc., etc. Right? It's more focused on like more high end of the spectrum of like vehicles. So yeah, I mean, identifying a segment, you can kind of think about all aspects. So another example, like I said, like in distribution, right? So you have like your, I don't know, target market is perhaps people over the age of 55 or not very tech savvy, right? Then you might like make a case that, oh, like I have this physical store where like people come in, or I'm like selling at this farmer's market where people actually like coming in. So uh, that's how you're gonna like distribute. So maybe then you don't need to like think of like, selling a product on Amazon or eBay or creating a website. You know, like maybe it doesn't make sense. Like you could do like a cost analysis of the sales that you're getting from having like a website or selling it on Amazon versus selling in person. And maybe for your case, it makes sense not to do that. So it again like ties into like you could use this information to make a lot of decisions, like not just marketing related that on my Facebook ad, I'm going to show this ad to people in the age group of 25 to 35, for example. I hope I answered your question. Does that have a follow-up? Or... Okay, should I keep moving forward? Okay, so maybe let's kind of like go deeper into some of these, like each of these avenues of digital marketing, right? So I think there's like tons of information out there. I wanted to like distill it like to high level. So like with search, there's organic, unpaid. Like maybe you don't even want like you don't have the budget for advertising. There's still tons of things you can do to kind of help or leverage search as a tool, as a platform to get like customers to either your store physically or to your websites or I don't know, like your online whatever distribution channel. So I have added a link for SEO. It's good for like folks to understand like how search works, where like, you kind of like they have these crawlers and stable data of the internet. But on a very high level, what you need to know is like what are your users searching for? So again, this like as part of industry analysis. If you're a restaurant, they're most likely searching for best food or like if so you need to identify like content and keywords that your users search for. And so now if you have like a website, so basically like your website content should kind of like address these keywords and address this. It should be like coherent and in line with what people are searching for. Now I don't know like if how many of you have like a website, maybe you have a web developer, be a good idea to speak to them. Uh, Again, this is kind of like web programming. So use of like headers in HTML to provide structure and layout your web page is like a good idea. Adding keywords to those headers is again like a great idea for you to show up in the search ranking results. Uh, and I'll say like even if you don't have a website, there's still a couple of things you can do, like setting up social media accounts. Right? Even if you don't want to do like social media marketing, there's just like more information about your business out there on the internet, the higher you're going to appear on like the search results, right? So set up social media accounts. You register your business on like Maps, Google Maps, or I don't know, any other map, Apple Maps perhaps. Uh, so this will automatically kind of like bubble your business up uh, when your customers search for, I don't know, like you're selling socks in San Francisco, right? So you want to have like a web page about like your awesome socks that you sell, have like some of these keywords in your headers, you have your social media account set up, and then like when Google, like when people come in and search for socks in San Francisco, even if you're not paying for advertising, you're gonna like your search is gonna show up over I don't know some of your neighbor who sells the same socks but doesn't do like search engine optimization. So yeah, I mean, I'm just saying SEO basically stands for search engine optimization. I didn't have that information. So yeah, so this is like a sanity thing. You should be doing it. It's free. It's not going to take a lot of your time, right? Next, if you think that, okay, like now I have a budget and I want to use ads, there's like tons of information out there. So I don't want to get into detail. It's very simple. Like if you just search for advertising on Google. I mean, I added Bing. If you find out your customers use Bing for whatever reason for searching, maybe you want to advertise on Bing, right? But on a simple, like a high level, how these platforms work is you kind of identify goals, like and like where to advertise. So mostly it's based like location based. So you want to advertise in I don't know, like New York City or like New Jersey, something. Then you kind of create your message. So like banner ads, add your images, your funded tagline, right? And what like you want the user to see as part of the ad. You set a budget. So like maybe you know, again, this is a lot of things I'm saying. It's more like I would urge you to experiment with it to see whether it works or not. So I say you kind of like want to try it out, spend, I don't know, $500 a month, a week for 2 months and try it out and see like whether you are getting like more foot traffic to your store, like online store or whatnot. And then you kind of like basically go live is like once you completed this step, next time, like, I don't know, user search for socks in San Francisco. They even if your search result doesn't show up because there's, I don't know, 50 socks and people are making socks in San Francisco, with advertising, your company might show up in the top 3 in the ad section. Why search is useful? Again, comparison or like search over social, you got to think for yourself. For search, the case is like the user intent is strong. So if I'm searching for like television sets, I'm probably like wanting in the market for television sets. So there's that intent. I'm not just, I don't want to, maybe I do, most likely I don't want to just see what TVs are out there in the market and then close my window and get on with my life. Right? So the intent is strong. So that's why search engines are very powerful.
We had a couple questions came in around this. The first one is if you can talk a little bit more about the Google ads and how to use them or how to use the Google AdWords to attract the targeted audience. And if you have a couple examples.
That's a great question. I think like for the scope of this presentation and given the limited time I've had, I haven't included like a live example. I can add like a link to it. It's fairly simple, to be honest, because as part of like making this presentation, I looked up AdWords. They make it very clear. So they have like success stories on the website. They have like even customer service representatives. So you can actually call them and they'll walk you through the steps of what you need to do. So yeah, it's very like tactical. You could like search and figure this out for yourself, but I'm more than happy to like add a link as part of this presentation to AdWords and summarize that, like summarizes how to use AdWords.
Yeah, that would be really helpful if you can just kind of do a little deeper dive into that we can share out to the to everybody after the presentation.
Mm-hmm.
And the second question we had is, Allison recently added PayPal to their website and got a lot more orders. How did the world know we added PayPal?
So if you said like PayPal, okay, so here's what must have happened, right? So this again, kind of like I have a last slide on experimenting and A/B testing. So it could be the case that people would come to your website because they thought that what you sell is interesting, but you didn't have like a payment platform or online payment platform that people trusted. So the foot traffic would have been the same. So it's not that people kind of like figured it out by themselves. But what happened is a lot of times people came to the site and like, they don't have like a good payment gateway, so I'll maybe buy it later, and then bounced off. So like bounce rate. So you use some of those like A/B testing and website analytics tools, you can figure this out. So what must have happened is like once you added PayPal, they had like, there was more trust and they wanted to make that transition happen. So they, instead of like getting off the website, they went ahead and completed that transaction. So you saw more sales. I mean, it's my theory. It will also be that like one of your customers called all the people who wanted to buy on your website, said, "Hey guys, they have PayPal," and then let's try it. But yeah, I mean, like PayPal is a trusted brand, so adding that to your website must have like increase that user trust. That hey, like it seems like a legitimate website that I can buy stuff off, and that must have like increased it.
Thank you.
Anything else?
That's all we have for right now.
Okay, excellent. I think I'm gonna like push forward a little bit because I see we have like 15 odd minutes. I mean, I'm happy to extend it like by a few minutes, but I want to like wrap up like at least the high level content I have. Okay.
Oh,
so
one more question. I'm sorry. Just one more question
go
that
ahead.
came in around
Okay.
search. So I wanted, since we're still on that
Sure.
topic, how to search for your target market.
How do you search for target market? So I think, like I mentioned initially, it's for you to kind of decide, analyze who's buying from you, right? And say like a spread of customers that are buying from you. And then out of that, like what's the majority? Can you like segment them like on some attribute, like age or location or preferences or income, right? And so it's kind of something more like you kind of figure out by interacting with your customers or doing these surveys that you send out to the public. Another way could be just say like search about your industry, right? So you could be like, okay, like what I have a restaurant that a Vietnamese restaurant. So what's like where are in this city, like where are the people eating uh, Vietnamese food? This information may or may not be out there, but you could kind of like structure your search query accordingly. So this information will not be readily available where you just search saying what's my target market for XYZ product. Because I mean, no one unless someone gather that information and like put it out for your industry, it's gonna be hard. So it's for you to kind of uh, analyze your own sales, your own customers, and kind of think through that. Oh, like these set of my customers seem to be buying more often, or like are repeat customers as to some of these other customers that like buy once and then they don't come back.
And then once you have identified who your customer is, how would you go about targeting your marketing strategy to that specific demographic?
Right. So with all these social media search platforms, you can specify attributes. So you want to search to uh, people in 100 miles of your neighborhood, or in San Francisco, for example, or in Oakland, right? So you can kind of, if you segregated that information or like identify your target market, it's going to be based on some attributes, right? Maybe you cannot like put in all attributes in search itself. That's where like maybe you use social media. So depending if it's simplistic enough, is your product is general enough where okay, I want to focus on people in this city, or I'm going to focus on people in this age group, then you can like specify that information in search. And that's where like maybe I'll talk about social media and kind of touch upon some of that. So yeah, social media is again very effective. Search effective because intent is strong. Social media great for discovery, right? Because here, like especially as part of advertising, you can specify, okay, people in Oakland who like football because they Facebook has more information, like or like Instagram has more information because they know like what pages you're following, right? So if you're selling footballs, for example, and then you can just focus on people who have that interest or like who follow athletes or like football players, and that's how. So you kind of like that's how once you identify your target market, it's going to be based on some attributes, and you use those attributes to target your advertising. One of many things. I think someone initially asked that question. So it could be to redesign your product or your service as well. But in terms of like promotion, you kind of use those attributes to focus on your target market, because your target market is going to be the people who are majority of your users or the most profitable users. So you want to make sure like you people in that group, similar people in that group really know about your product, because they're going to be the ones who are most interested. So you kind of pick your social strategy based on that as well, right? So for example, your customers are, you are making a product for teenagers, right? Like 15-year-olds. So then maybe you don't want to use Facebook, or you might want to use, say, YouTube or Snapchat or even like TikTok, right? To you make TikTok videos, or you use their ad platform uh, to advertise. So that kind of drives like your strategy to pick the platform as well, like what platform is going to be most useful to address, to reach your target market. Again, so I think one of the reasons why I didn't include like the actual platform or how do you go about it, because I think if you search, instructions should be simple enough, and like every platform is different, right? So for like I want to provide a framework for you to like make that decision, and then like how to part is, I think it's not that complicated. Like you just spend maybe 30 minutes with that platform or call their customer service. I mean, you're giving them business. They're more than gonna happy to like walk you through like detailed stuff. They'll probably like even create an account for you. So you don't need to like, that's at a later stage. So what I want you to think is like, do I make this decision? Do I like invest my money and resources in search ads or social media ads? Okay, so I mean, back to this slide. Again, before you spend money, like I don't want you guys to spend money just for the sake of it. There's like so much you can do before that, right? So social media best practices, you can kind of search for this as well. For me, like what I like, the things that I thought were important is coming back. Like I think I mentioned this, like you identify your customers and start with like platforms that they are on. I'd say establish your brand voice and be consistent. So you have an Instagram page and Facebook page. The messaging you want, like the language you use, should be consistent. Uh, I mean, you see some example, like even bigger brands, like they might even take like a stand. I know like Nike did it with having Colin Kaepernick as a. So I don't know if it's good or bad. They must have like made some decision where it didn't really hurt their brand. So, but they wanted to like pick an identity for their company going forward. So that's what they did. Another sanity thing, if you just create like a calendar that I want to post every day or every other day on my platform at this time, just that you end up doing it. I don't know if you might be managing your own account, someone else, maybe an employee is doing that. And this is, I mean, this again is free. So it's like a room for you to get creative and like make fun ads, videos, fun posts. You could rely on influencers. Maybe like you have a cousin who has, I don't know, 5,000 Instagram followers. Just give him a free product or ask him to like post about your product, and like leverage your network as well, right? Before you start like paying money to Facebook and Google and Instagram and all these social media platforms, right? Because you like think about it, like how do you engineer virality, right? Like, how do you make like a cool fun video? I think I had like, this is like a case recently this happened. I don't know, should I play this? It's a small like 20-second clip. Do you hear the audio or on? Do you hear my audio or not really?
No, we can't hear your audio.
Okay. Anyway, this guy, is this a video of? Okay, this is this a video of this man on his skateboard drinking ocean spray, cranberry juice, and this became viral. I don't know, something about it. It's quite endearing. Like I like that guy. I was watching that video, made me happy. So it's just a guy on his skateboard drinking cranberry juice and like singing to Fleetwood Mac, right? And so just like a little story on that, this became so popular that Fleetwood Mac, like, I think I don't know who's the leader of the band, but he did this video, and the CEO of Ocean Spray like did this video, right? So it just like word of mouth is the social contagion. So I say so. Insert yourselves into conversation between regular people, be more human or authentic, and this is all you can do this for free, right? So you don't need to like start paying. After you set up these basic practices, then you kind of think about starting. Okay, like I want to do paid advertising, right? Then again, I haven't put in the details of how do you create ads. If you Google, it should be like a YouTube video, take you through the steps. For the scope of this presentation, like only thing I wanted to urge is measure effectiveness. So all these like platforms have very sophisticated dashboards and analytics. So you can see like, okay, 10,000 people saw this ad, 500 bought it. Maybe that's like good enough for you. Maybe it's not. Maybe you see like, oh, 10,000 people saw this ad and hardly like 5 people came to my website or bought my product. Maybe it's not that effective. Maybe you might want to try a different social media platform. Maybe you might want to try search or YouTube or something like that. So just to kind of make that decision. Yeah, going forward, I mean, some of the other tools, it's kind of like optional. You could use it. I find this is more effective if it's like a more of a B2B business. So if your customers are like other organizations or companies, then you could start like a newsletter. There's tons of email marketing tools out there. I don't want to go into too much detail. This is like a little exercise we did for this other project where we were doing this, like setting a marketing strategy for a non-profit, where they would send out newsletters, but they weren't using any of these like tools, right? So there's our recommendation was like MailChimp, but like do your due diligence whether this applies. Maybe you don't even need this. Maybe you really need this and you have a big budget for this, and then you go and like get like a more sophisticated CRM tool like Salesforce. But again, I just wanted to let you know that this is another option out there to get the word out. You could also use this to kind of send out surveys to your customers, right? So there's like these tools have like templates, so you could like create templates and automate like a lot of things, send out this email Sunday morning 10 a.m. stuff like that. So I'll urge you to explore if you have time and resources to like look into some of these tools. And then running web experiments for better ROI. I know this is kind of focused for like people who have a website or a storefront. So if you don't, maybe you want to attend the seminar tomorrow. But basically, you could A/B testing is kind of like experimenting with what your website looks like, right? What changes you can make that can help you drive conversions, right? So, for example, like the person mentioned that they added PayPal to their website and they saw like more conversions, right? And basically reducing bounce rate. So bounce rate is something. It's just, I mean, it's a term where someone comes to your website, spends time, does nothing, and then bounces all the website, right? So you don't want that because you want them to like, if you're like for an e-commerce platform, add that product to cart and then kind of like buy that, make that sale, right? Because you want your customers to buy what you're selling. So you can like try this experiment, like what works, what not, design, layout, forms, call to action, etc. Again, this is a little more, I would say, complicated. It would take like an hour and a half just to kind of like go. Maybe for Morgan, next time we do a project with Berkeley, you could ask someone to like do this presentation. At a high level, what is basically you use these tools to kind of figure out how your website is currently performing. So it's like Google on Analytics, Optimizely, tons of other tools out there. So you see how like your customers are acting, what pages they visit. You can get all this information. Then once you have this information, you formulate a hypothesis, right? For example, I mean, I'm going to keep referring to the PayPal case where, you find out that people come to your page, but they don't buy. maybe you don't have like a payment gateway, or maybe you don't have like a trusted payment gateway. So you could like show like PayPal to half the customers and not show them to half the customers through these tools. And then, okay, like, oh, I have PayPal and look here, there's like people buying my stuff. Maybe, so then you basically create these variations, run that test, and then you analyze the results. So you basically then see that, oh, the website without PayPal has X conversions, and then with PayPal, it's just like it's 15% more conversions, right? So kind of use data. This again, I feel is more at a later stage. If you are like more sophisticated and established, and they're doing like some of the other things, or you have like an actual web presence and the resources, then it's definitely worth investing. This is like a fun example. So Amazon, I'm sure everyone's bought stuff on Amazon. So their like one-click ordering was a result of running this experiment, right? They saw that people add stuff to their cart, and then I have to go like next, and like fill in all this information. And then some people like, you get out of the website without buying, and stuff's lying in that cart, and then they visit like 10 days later and they don't want to buy the product anymore. So they kind of figured this out by running this experiment, right? And then they could like patent this information. So maybe you find something and worth patenting, and then it's just for you on your website, and no one else can use it. So yeah, this is about like A/B testing, or like running web experiments for folks who have web presence or like a web store. Finally, I'll just like wrap it all up. Like I said before, like this marketing process, just see how it fits into your overall business strategy. Because your goal is not to have like run the best marketing campaign. Your goal is probably to increase revenues, or cut down costs, or make more profits, or like grow your company, right? So once you kind of like have that, the first phase, like I said, analyze the market, analyze your customers, identify your target segment, see how you want to position your company, right? Like I said, like identify and create like that value, unique value proposition. And then once you have that, then you kind of like take that all back to be like, okay, these are like the product attributes that my customers care about. This is where I want to sell it. I want to like create my own web store and run A/B tests. I'm gonna do that. And like, how do I price it? Or like my customers really value quality. Maybe I can try increasing the price. Kind of use like some of the insights from the first step into pricing your products. And then finally, obviously, like promotion strategy, like dive deep into what platform I want to use. Do I want to use search? Do I want to use social? What social media platform I want to use? I want to do video ads. I want to banner ads. The other tools, CRM tools I can use to A/B testing. So it's like, once you have identified creative value, figure out a way, the best way to deliver this and capture it. That's it. I think that's my presentation. I guess we did well. 1 hour, it's 5:02. So I'm happy to stick around for a little bit, take any questions people might have.